But first, new questions about how one of America's bigger banks failed and what's being done to avoid contagion, even after a second bank collapsed last night. CBS News has learned that Silicon Valley Bank was operating without a chief risk officer for months, while the Fed tonight promising a swift review of the oversight of SVB. Fear also spreading from Wall Street to Main Street. Look at this. Trading was halted on at least 20 regional banks after shares fell by as much as 80%. President Biden, speaking this morning before Wall Street opened, tried to urge calm, but he also took aim at the Trump administration for rolling back Dodd-Frank banking safety requirements. And after his address to the nation, the president flew to San Diego, and that's where we find CBS's Ed O'Keefe. Good evening, Ed.
Good evening, Norah. The quick steps taken by federal officials were designed to reassure Americans about the strength of the economy, even in the wake of those two bank failures. The hope is that the collapse is contained and doesn't set off a wider crisis.
President Biden today calling for calm.
Americans can rest assured that our banking system is safe. Your deposits are safe.
The federal government stepped in overnight, backstopping the failed banks in California and New York, but worries persist that other smaller regional banks also could have similar issues. Several were battered in early trading today. CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger says Americans shouldn't overreact.
If you have an account at one of these small or medium-sized banks that has really started to grab some headlines, it doesn't mean you should move out. You're okay. If you see the stock being halted, if you see stock prices go down, that's not your money. That is the investment community's money.
Outside Silicon Valley Bank's main branch today in Santa Clara,
we're here to protect you guys.
Federal officials greeted bank customers lined up to get access to their money. CBS's Errol Barnett is there.
SVB customers tell me what frustrates them is the lack of clarity on exactly how much money they'll have access to and when. This line has been growing since before the bank opened this morning, some traveling from as far as Australia.
Federal regulators say customers will have access to all of their funds. This man tells CBS News his life savings are in the bank.
They were entrusted with watching our money, and they didn't do a very good job of it, and that could cause people a lot of problems.
SVB had more than $200 billion in assets with investments in long-term Treasury bonds, whose value plummeted as interest rates went up, causing the run on the bank. Exposed were companies like Roku, Pinterest, and Roblox, but also small family-owned businesses like Strong Suit in Ohio, with 15 employees, run by Lindsay Michaelides.
We're getting access to the capital that we have in SVB today, and we're already taking action to move those dollars, and we're being very thoughtful about the types of partners that we want to work with moving forward.
One group that won't be getting any relief, executives of the failed banks and their investors.
They knowingly took a risk, and when the risk didn't pay off, investors lose their money. That's how capitalism works.
But some lawmakers, like progressives Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, are criticizing the federal bank relief, saying it's a direct result of changes made during the Trump administration to loosen regulations on these smaller regional banks. Members of both parties say they're monitoring the situation closely and will be proposing changes to ensure something like this doesn't happen again. Norah?
Ed O'Keefe, thank you so much.